Today we'll be giving a gameplay overview and review of the game Above Top Secret. It's a fight to the death. Hi everyone, I'm Tracy, the Gaming Maven.
And I'm Stephane, the games teacher.
And well, we're here today to talk a little bit about something secretive. But before we get to that, let's talk about timestamps. If you want to see gameplay, want to see a review, click on one below.
If you like what you see, comment and leave us a note so we know how we're doing, and then subscribe to the channel to be notified when we post new content.
And with that, we've got Above Top Secret all set up and ready to go, so let's get to it.
In Above Top Secret, players will be using their high technology to defeat not only the alien invasions, but each other.
So here we have the components for Above Top Secret. Here we do have the deluxe player mat for a player, so if you are playing the two players, you would each need a player mat. Then we have the base area cards. There are 4, and each player will receive 1 of each. There are 40 defense cards. Each player will receive a deck of 40 defense cards with levels technologies from 1 to 5. Each player will also have a security clearance level card. Each have a deck of alien extraterrestrial encounter cards. There is also an encounter die, a combat die. We have cloak tokens. We have alien influence tokens, which they have a positive and a negative side, so they're double-sided with a green and red alien on each side. A disable token, a protector token, and we have 5 double-sided damage card defense tokens. Here we have the setup without the playmat. So if you had the playmat, you would basically play the cards out to where the spots say on the playmat. In this case, each player will play out their 4 base cards, their headquarter, operations, test facility, and research lab. Then they will look through their deck of defense cards and they will pick a level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to play out. Now they would be played face down at first once all players have chosen their cards, and before the first turn begins, they will then turn them face up. Each player will take a security level clearance card. Normally there would be a little slider token to indicate which level you're at, but we will start at level 1, and as you go up you would mark accordingly. Each player will also take their extraterrestrial encounter cards, shuffle them, play them face down. There will be cloak tokens, the alien influence, as well as the disable and protector tokens to the side. The damage counters are played within reach of both players, as well as the 2 dice. Players will then draw 7 cards from their draw deck to their hand, and then they will roll the combat die to determine who goes first. The highest roll will get to strike first. Now we're ready to begin. So the player who rolled the highest number gets to strike first. So they are going to do 3 phases on their turn. The first thing that's going to happen is they're going to draw a card from their deck and add it to their hand. Then they are going to roll the alien encounter die. If they roll any number, nothing happens. However, if they roll the encounter side, they will resolve the top card of their deck by reading it aloud. It may affect just that player, or it may affect multiple players. Then the combat phase begins. In combat phase, the attacker is going to get to play a card from their defense line. Now they can only play a card equal to the level that they're at for security level clearance. In this case, both players start at level 1, so they can only use the card with the number 1 on the top left-hand corner. They can, however, attack a card equal to that level, or 1 higher or 1 lower. So in this case, the player can attack level 1 or level 2. If I chose not to attack because I didn't think the card would be strong enough to completely damage an opponent's card, I can look through my cards that I have in hand, and I would be able to replace it with a similar security level clearance card by discarding this card and replacing it, therefore forfeiting my actual combat turn. However, in this case, we're going to put this card out and we are going to announce that we are attacking the opponent's remote sentry. They would play that. Now, if there was no text on the inside of the card or no text that affected things, you would simply look at the attack to defense value. In this case, this player has an attack of 10 and this player has a defense of 10. In a case of a tie, the defender always wins, so the attack would not be successful. However, there is text on the center of the cards that will affect the combat first. In this case, the opponent has an always strikes first unless otherwise specified. Their attack is 20, which easily defeats the striking player's defense of 0, so this card would be destroyed. However, this card has a booby trap, so if destroyed, the attacker receives damage equal to the card's attack value. So even knowing that this card had played out and would not just by simple attack and defense values destroy it, the booby trap destroyed this card because it put 10 defense. So you'd normally put a marker on to show what kind of damage it has taken, but in this case it is fully damaged, so it would actually be discarded as well. So this player would discard their card to the discard pile as well as the opponent. Now this has left a breach on both sides of each player's spot. So if there was a breach in the defense line, a player could then attack the base cards on the bottom, which is one of the ways to win the game, is by destroying a player's base cards. So that is a very vulnerable spot to have open. Now after the initial player's turn, the opponent will take their turn doing the exact same 3 phases in their turn, then cleanup phase will happen. In cleanup phase, we will first look at repairing damage. So if there were any damage markers on any cards, either on either player's cards, if they did not completely equal the defense value, then they will just be removed and the cards will basically be brought back to their original levels. Players may now fill any gaps in their defense with cards held in their hand. Now they may only replace the card of the level that matches the area. So if a level 2 is destroyed, you could replace it with a level 2. If the level 1 was destroyed, you could replace it with a level 1. And players will do that now. Any other actions that happen, there may be cards that are affected until cleanup phase, and then those will be resolved. You may also increase your security level up 1 from your existing level. So if you're on level 1, you can raise it to level 2, from 2 to 3, and so on and so forth. What you must do is discard cards with defense values equal to the amount you need to spend. If you want to go up to level 2, it is 10 points, up to level 3 is 20, up to level 4 is 30, and up to level 5 is 40 points. So in this case, if I wanted to raise up to level 2, which is an optional thing, I can discard anything with defense of 10. Now you can spend more than that defense, however anything you spend extra is lost. I would normally have a little counter here and I would pull it up to level 2 to note that I'm now at level 2, allowing me now to use level 2 cards to attack 1, 2, or 3 cards levels on the opponent's side. The game can end in one of 2 ways. If a player has exhausted their draw pile and can no longer draw, then the opponent wins. The player can also win by attacking and completely destroying all of a player's base cards by reducing it to 0 hit points, thus winning the game. So now we're ready to give our review of Above Top Secret. So I didn't realize there was a level above Top Secret. I just thought Top Secret was like the highest level, but you learn something new every day.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a couple of things above Top Secret, but I'm honestly not sure about those, classification ratings.
So let's first talk about our overall opinion of the game.
The game is easy to ingest, not a heavy rule set. The art is fantastic.
Yeah. Yes, we'll definitely get to that. But yes, I agree.
And overall, I mean, it was a light, easy game to play, light filler game.
Mm-hmm. If you like the whole player elimination, this is definitely the game for you. If you like that war theme, it's definitely for you because you can kind of see it in the cards, and it's kind of got a cool sci-fi alien encounters as well because it's basically around the time that would be coming about. For me, I'm not a war gamer, so unfortunately, I just couldn't really immerse myself in the gameplay, and I don't necessarily think it was this game's fault because I've tried a couple of other war games. I just keep trying to see if maybe one will catch me, and this one just didn't catch me either. But it's not that it's a bad game. It's just it wasn't my kind of game, and I'll kind of explain who would be good for and other things about it. So first, art and theme.
Like I said, the art in this game is fantastic. Kudos to the artist who did all the card art. The game did come, our prototype copy of the game did ship with a player mat. Now, sadly, it was only a single player mat. I understand, it's a prototype, so they can't really send us, too much bling, I guess. But it was sad that we weren't able to show you that in the gameplay video.
It was in the components, but
we had it in the components, but because we only had one player mat, it didn't make sense to use it in the gameplay video because each player would need their own mat. But the mat itself looks great.
Yes.
High production quality with the game. Even though it is a prototype copy, the component quality within the box was still very high.
For me, the art was, again, very good. That's, I think, what drew me in and really wanted me to play this game and give it a try. The big thing was with the player mat, like you said, games like this, especially player versus player, you kind of need that. It kind of gives you a visual, like, battlefield to play on. So I think a lot of the other games do that too, which we'll talk about in similar games, can give you a player mat. So I think a player mat is not necessary, but kind of gets you into the feel of your area and your opponent's area. So I do like that.
It also really helps with the setup too, because you know exactly where all the cards are supposed to go.
Exactly, which is helpful when you're not familiar with that style of game. So yeah. So components, like you said, it is a prototype, but it's already looking pretty good. Like when we first opened those cards and the base cards, we thought, oh, there's two in these sleeves. No. A single card.
One big, thick base card, yeah.
So the quality is already really there with the cards. We were a little confused about the alien encounter die, and I'm sure with it being a prototype, that's going to be changed. There's going to be a permanent one. The fact that one side was mirrored, we kind of had to guess that was the side that gave us the alien encounter.
It seemed like a good guess.
It seemed like a good guess. So we kind of played with that because all the other sides were numbered, and the other one was a combat die, so it's pretty obvious. For me, I wasn't too sure about the whole security level thing, but I do see how it comes into the theme, so it kind of makes sense. Fortunately, we also didn't get the little
sliders.
Slide things. That was no big deal. Those will be very helpful, especially on the base cards, and those to help you keep track of permanent damage that continues to happen and stuff like that. So I think that'll be good once they get them into the kits. So game mechanics.
Like I said, mechanically the game was very simple not a heavy rule set to ingest, so that's good. And you could get up and running and playing probably within about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, not a lot of setup. Once you know, if it's kind of a bit of a not quite an LCD collectible card game, but the idea is each player has their deck and they kind of set up how they want to start it and then go from there. So it is pretty easy, like you said, to set up, especially if you have the mat. It's really easy just to plunk these things there and you're great. So similar games.
It's reminiscent of other dual card games like Magic the Gathering. You talked about Star Realms.
Star Realms would be probably Star Realms or Hero Realms. Star Realms being more sci-fi, of course, matches the theme a little bit more.
Sure.
But that player versus player elimination, using cards, putting some cards down, having permanent effect cards versus cards you play. Not quite the exact game mechanic, especially when you can discard one of your cards from your defense line to replace it with a new one. You kind of get that feel similar to Star Realms. Another one too is Battle Line. That's a game you and I particularly like, and it has that player versus player, and it's a card game, so it has a similar feel where you're trying to build up to win on one particular spot, one particular battle versus your opponents. Yeah. So final thoughts.
Again, not usually my style of game, but component quality and the ease to pick up the rules, appealed to me. Card art was fantastic. I think for the people who enjoy these types of two-player elimination games, I think it'll really draw them in. The theme is interesting to me, and overall, I think a pretty solid game.
Yes, I think those who are drawn to the player elimination, the war style games, especially ones that kind of have that whole the alien, the sci-fi feel. If you like the sci-fi feel, some of the cards also gave you that, and there was a lot of really cool abilities on the card. So that really strategic. Do I sacrifice something now to hopefully, you know, hurt my opponent more later. I kind of like that aspect too. So you kind of got to think a little bit ahead, think a couple moves beyond what you're just doing immediately. So that's really cool too. Not my kind of game, but again, I was kind of hoping it would be. Like, I would hope it would kind of bring me into that style. Apparently, I'm just not meant to be a wargamer. And that's okay. Not every mechanic appeals to everyone, but I think those that are will like this game for sure. So with that, we'll see you next time. Bye.